welcome to 30 and Nerdy, and this is our special spooky cast for October 2017. My name is David.
My name is Scary Terry, bitch.
No.
I'm Brady, bitch.
I'm Derek.
And Derek is our
Bitch.
special guest for this week. Has some good stories, hopefully. If not, he's fired.
Yeah, we bring him on and tell us
It's the
scary
only
stories.
reason.
Like, yeah,
Come
I got
on,
nothing.
tell a scary story. Tell a scary story.
One
I
time,
once pooped my pants. That's not scary.
One
that happens to
time-
me on a daily occurrence.
I applied for a loan, and they said no.
My credit was too low.
But we're going
It's
to
a
do
true story.
some special, just scary stories. Try not to rehash, though that probably will happen because it's us
Yeah.
when we do that.
I mean, but we'll also probably talk about really dumb shit too. So
Oh, yes.
That doesn't sound like us at all.
no, it doesn't.
All right, well, I'm gonna
Hell yeah.
have Derek introduce himself, just
Please
as
do.
maybe favorite system, favorite game, favorite movie.
Oh,
On the spot.
Favorite music.
Didn't
and
warn me
favorite
at
magic
all.
card. Favorite book.
yeah.
He doesn't play Magic, I don't believe.
I learned. Oh, I played like once when they put out a new deck like last summer or something.
They put new decks out all the time.
Oh,
Yeah, well, there was one that came out, and I played that one because I had a roommate that was living with me and my wife last year, and when I was living in Oregon. And he taught me how to play, and I sucked. That's all there is. Not much of a story. So, my name's Derek, and favorite... I play on Xbox, and my favorite game, I love Witcher 3. I think that's probably one of my favorite games I've ever played.
I'm gonna have to agree with that.
I know you don't. I love Witcher 3. It's like right there with Ocarina of Time for me as far as like all time. I played it like 3 times like straight through.
Because it is so good. Because the graphics are great, the storyline is awesome,
And the
You
side
get to see
quests
boobies.
aren't all the same.
And it's like a wild hunt or something.
Yeah, something
Yeah.
like that.
I haven't even hardly touched the Wild Hunt in my whole entire playthrough of like I don't know how many.
But have you touched the wild cunt?
Oh!
Once or twice. I'm trying to. I'm trying to skirt the tales of all the love interests of Geralt of Rivia.
Oh, yeah.
Get everybody. Bone them.
Bone him.
Boning them, Dave.
The first time I played through The Witcher, I went all the way to the end. Did you guys play it?
No,
I
didn't
he
like it.
just likes to hate on it without playing it.
No.
No. I played Witcher 2, and it sucked.
Hey,
big-
hey.
Well, Witcher
big
2
donkey
does
dick.
suck.
Completely different.
Yeah,
It
it's
doesn't
really
matter.
different.
I don't care. They ruined the idea of me being a customer by creating a game that was so difficult to control that me, the fan of Dark Souls, can't even fucking play it.
I never even played Witcher 1 or 2. I went straight to 3. The first time I played through Witcher 3, I got to the end, and I had made, like, all the wrong choices. So Geralt, like, kills himself. It's, like the worst thing that could happen, that I did everything wrong. So then I felt like I just needed to replay it to get a couple things right.
And you get to play it back through with all your experience and stuff like that, if I'm correct, right?
Yeah.
So I like that. So I want to play through it because I tried it on. The first time I got it, and I was like, oh, "This is such a beautiful game. I'm gonna play it. And I'm gonna do it on Death March." And I was like, I played it for 10 minutes. I was like, I am not gonna play this on Death March.
Yeah.
That's how normal felt for me. Like, I came up against a group of bandits, and I couldn't kill them. I'm like, well, I'm done.
I'm out.
Played
Forget it.
Peace.
Lates. I never play with the oils. Did you use the
No.
oils on all your sword? I said, fuck that shit. I'm not putting oil on everything. It took too long to, like, figure out how to do it.
The only time I
much
do it is
item
when I have to
management.
for like a quest.
Right.
And the other thing, I don't use any of the Witcher potions or anything like that. I'm a straight edge Witcher player.
You didn't even use, like,
God.
healing potions?
I used healing potions, but I didn't
Okay.
use like the stuff that raised your toxicity.
Right. Yeah, no, I didn't do that either.
Because once again, the only time I used it
I
was
don't
when
have time for
a
that.
quest called for you to have to use it.
That's
A
right.
non-GMO playthrough.
All right, so favorite movie.
Oh, mine.
Uh-huh.
I don't know. I like Star Wars. That's probably the movie that first got me to love movies. The original ones.
Most definitely.
Episode 5 is my favorite.
Yep.
But I like all of them.
Because
Dave and I are old friends. We grew up together.
we grew up
Very
together.
cool.
Funny thing, totally off tangent here, but the first time I met Derek, I thought he was higher than a kite.
It's so dumb because there's no way this is your memory of like
It
a
is.
young like conservative Christian boy and what your perception of high was because there's no way I was acting in any way like someone that was actually high.
I meant just like the demeanor of like a pothead.
Oh
basically.
sure, well
Has
that's
he
fair.
been doing marijuana?
Some
Do your
marijuana.
children have a problem with marijuana?
He's been on doing
Basically, it was probably that Derek just hadn't slept, and so he just looked really tired. Basically,
probably. That's fair.
He thought he was a dirty hippie.
And I
did.
Fucking hippies.
I think I was mad at my parents or something.
You were because they locked you out of the computer because you
That's
did
right.
something. I can't remember what, but probably played The Sims when you weren't supposed to.
I probably used up all our AOL minutes.
Oh man, trials of the bygone era, right there.
That's right. I spent a lot of time with David growing up playing video games, and when I say that, I mean watching David play video games because David never shared.
Well, guess what?
That's not
I don't remember
necessary.
this.
I paid it back because I've made him watch me play video games for
Perfect.
hours.
It does make me feel better to know that.
So yeah, don't worry.
Well, we
He
did
has.
play together sometimes, but David would take all the points.
I would try.
He would.
Did he leave the controller unplugged so it was actually just him playing?
I wasn't that smart.
Like, why aren't I moving? Oh, it's really hard. It's just really
You're
hard.
moving.
games.
I
Keep
swear.
trying. What was that Star Wars game we played?
Jedi Power Battles.
Yes.
That was a fun one.
It's like this. Have you guys played that? It's a button masher old game from
It's
like.
a side scroller. I
Was
don't know
it
if it's
64?
It was either PlayStation or it wasn't on Nintendo 64. So I think it was PlayStation /
Or
Dreamcast.
Dreamcast.
I think it
Dreamcast
was
we played
both.
on for
Yeah.
a bit. And it's just a button masher. It's kind of like the old Ninja Turtle games. If you ever played that.
Yeah, or
And-
like Streets of Rage.
But you
or
get
stuff like
points
that.
for every whatever you kill. And so I'd be like, okay, David, I'll take the left side of the screen, you take the right side. And he would just and kill everything on the whole screen. And so I got like no points. We'd end the thing and be like, David, 10,000 points. Derek, 5 points.
I forgot about that. I was a dick. How Derek stayed my friend is a mystery, but
Because I didn't mind watching people play video games.
It's hard being friends with an MLG player.
I got this.
Just stand back.
Stay alive.
tell my story. But anyway, so yeah, Derek and I knew each other. He was my best man at my wedding. That's
right.
Almost 9 years ago, 2 years.
I
2
love
days
how
from
you're
now.
like, oh yeah.
I
It was
was.
a long time ago.
It was almost 9 years, 2 days from now.
Jeez. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Fishing for a compliment.
Yeah, I am. Still waiting.
Congratulations,
Still waiting,
David.
AJ.
It's funny because I seem to remember that 2 days before your wedding, it was my birthday, right?
Was it? So today's your birthday?
Is it?
No. No,
I was going to say, Facebook failed me because it didn't notify me.
no, my birthday's in July.
I have a finite amount of room in my mind for birthdays. I know my son's, my daughter's, and my wife's.
Those
And
are the only
my,
ones you need to know.
and my anniversary.
My students were giving me a hard time the other day because I don't remember when I got engaged. I cannot
don't
tell you
either.
the date. I don't know for certain the month. I could guess. Like, I'm pretty sure it was January, but it might have been February. I could not tell you with
It was
certainty.
chilly out. I know that much.
So
it was.
that covers about 6 months in Iowa.
Yeah. I just don't remember. But it's not important because you don't celebrate that anniversary.
Yeah. Unless you're a weird person.
Oh, I guess I'm weird.
You're a weird.
Wait, no, we don't celebrate
Just a
our
romantic-
engagement. We just know when our engagement was because it was on. It was like a little bit before Mother's Day,
Christmas.
or no, Father's Day. Sorry. No, it wasn't on Christmas. I did that once when I was like 20. Never again.
Proposed on Christmas. Didn't work out?
No, I mean, she said yes, and then she left me 3 days before the wedding.
Oh, bitch.
Yeah.
Let's talk about how big a bitch she is.
You know, the funny
That's
thing...
You know
podcast.
what's really
This is a
scary?
spooky story.
Exes.
What's her address? Let's get real.
Let's get her on this podcast.
Let's tell Reddit. Let Reddit know.
The funny thing, I was actually thinking about this the other day, and having you come on the podcast. Was
This
that,
is surreal because I've been listening for like months, and then all of a sudden, like, you're sitting
Welcome.
in the room. It's weird. Everybody should know at home that you're listening. It's ornate in here.
Yep.
It's glass everywhere.
It's a
Mahogany.
nice
It's
mid-century
mahogany.
Victorian.
That's right. The ceilings are so I can't really see the ceilings, but I'm sure they're up there.
Brady podcasting in the nude.
Yeah.
Somehow
Yeah,
we
just
get really good
That's
acoustics in
right
here. I'm
open.
not sure how it works.
It adds to the experience.
What's that
We do
natural
podcasts
hardwood,
from a mansion.
cedar? Yep.
But that's only our podcasting mansion. We don't do anything else.
Yeah, screw that place. It sucks.
Sorry, Dave, I cut you off.
But I was thinking back how funny it must have been, or not funny, but what people thought about us. That I'm assuming that some people thought we were gay.
Probably. Well, we
Because-
talked about that. What was that
Well,
girl's
like-
name? The incredibly attractive Hy-Vee employee.
Oh, I know who you're talking about.
Every time we went to Hy-Vee together,
Yeah,
she was our cashier every time. And we're buying like bullshit like milk just
Yes.
for our apartment.
Yeah, and we would always be like laughing and giggling and stuff like that.
Well, David is definitely, got femmy tone.
Yeah, so we're both just.
I'm
kinda
hardly
like that.
butch.
Yeah,
Never been there.
no,
But this girl was attractive.
yeah, super.
Not be-tractive.
No.
like
Ew.
eight of the plus attractive.
You do good in class, you get A.
Probably that you guys are just so cute.
We were. We held. It
In
didn't
a gay
help that
way,
we
yes.
held hands and made out in a line. But
That kind of gave her. like, huh,
don't get the
know
wrong
those guys.
impression.
I don't know how
but-
she got that. Those are just friend kisses.
Duh, everybody does them.
I mean,
Me and my
I
friends
do
have
them all the
kiss
time.
fights. So he was dominant.
It's a little over the jeans action, but that's normal.
Yeah, but like, cause I was thinking when we went to our teen retreats or whatever, up at that
Oh
one
yeah,
camp, and
I've
we
thought about that place
and
Oh,
we
when
were
you guys used to do the...
in the woods.
yeah.
Oh.
No, because all the guys slept upstairs and all the girls slept downstairs.
Yeah.
And so they had these
In one open
mattresses
room.
that you could, like a huge wall of them.
They stacked
And so
them up.
Derek and I were like, well, let's just make like a huge bed. And then so like we'd
forgot
we'd
about
sleep
that.
on the outside, but then by the morning we'd roll to the middle. And so we'd sleep together. We were like, oh, whatever, who cares?
Just
Yeah.
cuddling.
Just keep him warm in the cold night. We were up there
Hi.
for winter retreat. It was
Yep.
like snowy out.
I love how you're like justifying it. It's like, it was really snowy out. It was chilly. It was a winter retreat.
Someone left the
There-
window open.
There was-
Yes, it was me, but it
Skin
shouldn't matter.
contact is the best way to do body warmth, sharing, and keep warm in the winter.
Hey, you just gotta do what you gotta do.
That's
But
right.
I was thinking about that the other day. I was just wondering. Not that I didn't care, but I just always
Not
thought it
that
was
there's
funny.
anything wrong with that.
Yeah.
I was just wondering, like, what would have happened if you were gay?
No.
Oh,
What could have
No,
been?
like how many people thought that Derek and I were gay?
Oh,
Probably
yeah.
plenty. Plenty.
all I know is like,
I had a girl try to hook up with me in college once because she thought I was gay and thought it would be fun to try and turn a gay person.
Did you go with it?
I stupidly told her that I wasn't. Like almost straight away. If I had had like a moment to think, I would have been like, "Yep, totes gay." Totes.
totes kid. Now let
Love
me get balls
me.
deep.
You're
in
like,
there.
hey, it worked. Let's do this again.
You tricked me, woman.
You rascal.
Yeah, you got me around. You won't do it again.
I love how you become just kind of like a angry Irish guy.
Groundskeepers. Lily.
You don't do it again, I swear. You're wily.
It's my gay character, Willikins.
Oh, Willikins.
Hello.
All right, well, this has gone off the rails, just like usual.
Yep, 15 minutes in, and what was we supposed to talk about?
Scary things.
Scary stuff. All right. But before we get into that, I do want to hit on just some games that are coming out. Technically, tomorrow or when this podcast comes out, you will have been able to play these games for 1 week. The Fractured Butthole
Yes.
comes out tomorrow, or tonight at midnight, which is technically tomorrow. Let's see here. I had a whole list, and now I can't even remember what they were.
Wolfenstein.
No, that-
Wolfenstein: The New Order comes out tomorrow, or the 20th.
No, that I was gonna say that's
Oh.
later in the month.
Gotcha.
Killing Nazis.
Hell
I've
yeah.
got it pre-ordered.
Let's see here. So we
It's
have
Donald Trump's favorite game.
GT Sport, which is supposed to be the Gran Turismo, finally, for the PlayStation, coming out tonight.
Finally.
Let's see here. South Park, we already touched on that. Destiny 2 for PC comes out on October 24th, for anybody who cares about that. No.
Well, I mean, they get 4K and unlocked FPS, so I'm kind of jealous.
And then Wolfenstein 2, the new Colossus, October 27th. So those are some of the notables. I've been watching a playthrough of The Stick of Truth, and I really, really kind of want to go home and buy and download.
I have it on
Fractured
Xbox.
No, I'm
excited.
saying the Fractured Butthole.
Oh, okay.
The new one.
It comes with Stick of Truth, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
used to.
If
I don't know
you
if it still
pre-ordered
does.
it,
Pre-order
it did.
it.
Oh.
That's how I got it. That's how I played through.
Because it looks.
So did you save the Mr. Slave summon for late in the game?
I don't remember. I played it because everything was like last July at E3 when they announced it or whatever that they would do it. So I bought it like that day when they announced they make the deal. So I played it like the first week that I could, and now it's been over a year.
Stick of Truth, spoiler warning for anybody who cares. Play your ears now, and then I'll let you know when to unmute. So there's a part of the game where you go inside of Mr. Slave's butthole, but you can also get Mr. Slave as a summon. So if you summon him while you're in his butthole, you get, I think it's like Inception as a trophy. You get an Inception trophy.
That's funny.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I'm really excited for the new one.
Oh, that's crazy though. Like, I just remember all the walls covered in cum.
Oh,
hamsters.
Yeah. It is gross. That's the
God.
grossest part of the
It's
game.
so insane. That game, dude, is fucking detesting.
It really is.
I mean, it's basically like playing a South Park episode, which
Oh,
is why
But worse.
worse.
It's
that's
worse.
That's why I like it, because it doesn't shy away from anything. It just has all the kind of raunchy, all the kind of non-PC humor that isn't allowable in the mainstream.
Except for it'll be played on PC. Oh, snap, snap. I'm coming out with all of these fucking jokes. I'm dad.
All right.
Did
well,
you mention World War II?
Modern, or not
What
Modern
is it?
Warfare, but just Call of Duty World War II.
Yeah.
That's November something.
Oh, okay. I thought it was
4th, 6th. I know I've said it multiple times. I'm not going to get it, but I'm probably getting it.
You're getting
I don't get it. It's the only the only Call of Duty game I'm interested in since like
Okay, I'm telling you this.
2.
Put my stamp of approval on it.
the
Once
mushroom
again,
stamp of approval.
once it goes down in price, which I know Call of Duty games rarely ever do, but go and buy when it's in the bargain bin. Infinite Warfare, play the single player, awesome.
I really want to play it.
Then-
But it's really funny because you can still find Modern Warfare 2 for like $39.99
I know, it's ridiculous.
at Walmart for Xbox 360. I'm like, how are they still selling it for this much?
They have great
That
market
doesn't
value.
even come with the fucking DLCs.
They should just give the free DLC now to the 360
You gotta buy
players. Here you go.
Microsoft points to get them. Is that all?
Remember Microsoft?
Oh, I
points?
hate those things. I'm so glad they went to real world money.
Yep.
Yeah. They would give
Except
it a
they're-
lot more transparency instead of,
Yeah.
I got some rock band songs with my 2,000 Microsoft points. I don't know how to convert that into real money spent, but it was probably way too much.
Yeah.
So I use mom's credit card. So
It doesn't even matter.
My mom was dead.
that's scary story number 1.
The
All
tale
right.
of the haunted credit card.
All right, well, who wants to kick it off?
Well, I kept getting dragon dildos sent to my house. I don't know who was doing it.
It was me.
Mom playing a prank.
On
From the
afterlife.
grave.
I love you, Mom. Even though you're dead, so you'll never hear this. I do love her, though. She's great.
She's
a
always
great
listening.
person. She's always listening. From beyond the grave,
In our hearts.
in heaven.
Your download stats show anyone downloading from heaven?
I haven't seen, I've only seen Europe and some Asian, but no heaven
I've
yet.
seen
Does
like
that count
7
as hell,
from
or
hell,
is it-
though.
Yeah, so F7. Oh.
There's a few unsubscribed from heaven. They're not really
Didn't
digging.
find it tasteful.
It's probably my mom. I can't believe he says the C word all the time. I always told him how awful it was, and there he is going, cut, 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 cut.
And Jesus just peeks around the corner. What are you listening to? Nothing. Nothing. I'm listening to the Gaithers.
It's my boy.
The Gaithers. The Gaithers have scarred
Joke's
me
on them. They have gay in their name.
The joke is on them.
for more than one reason.
Wait,
All right.
I have no clue. What he's talking
They're
about.
old white people that sing Jesus songs.
Oh, okay.
But like in a folksy manner.
Yeah.
Oh,
Actually, not that bad.
you guys like all went to like a Christian school, so you know.
Once
Yes.
upon a time, I went to a Christian college down in South Carolina that will remain nameless. And a couple kids got kicked out because they were listening to the Gaithers. Because it was too edgy.
What?
Yeah, I'm not even joking. Well, they
I
were
was-
dancing too.
Oh,
Yeah, so-
God.
Didn't mean to leave that
that's
out.
it.
that.
That's it. That leads to sex.
That's-
Yep.
And that also leads to our first scary story by Derek.
Oh, we want to lead with
About
that? You want to
sex.
lead?
You want to lead with that?
Let's kind of work our way into it.
Okay,
Let's get some of the crappy ones out of the way before we get to the good
All
ones.
right, fine. We'll,
Jeez, at
we'll
least
get some
wine and
crappy
dine me
ones.
before I get fucked.
Wined and dined in 69.
69.
Metaphorically.
That's what I said to that Hy-Vee cashier. She didn't go for it.
She's like, oh, you guys have a great time tonight.
She said, "What about your husband?" Don't worry about him. He's not here, baby.
What about that big-nosed freak behind you?
Oh, it's David Wolowitz.
So anyway, spooky stuff. Let's harken the mood. In my mind, you're changing the music to make it all dark and scary.
I was walking in my love.
Oh my god, you did the
The
match.
monster.
So, I'll start it off with just like a really, really short story. And I mean, we can definitely bounce it off from like you talking about sex.
That's
Because,
good. They're both
so
terrible.
me and my current wife, we were at my old apartment and we were starting to get freaky. And we had our, the window open to outside. We're like fooling around, you know, and then out of nowhere, just sounds like somebody standing like right next to the bed. Don't do that. We both heard it, and like I looked out the window, no one's out there, and I was on the second floor, so it's not like somebody could have just like
No.
peeked into my window and been like, "Don't do that."
Bill Walton.
really don't.
One of the Lost Boys.
So anyway, but we were reminiscing about that earlier, so that's why I remembered it. I remember it scared the shit out of me. It completely killed the mood. We did not blink.
Space Noodle to Space Needle.
Yeah. You
That's
mean
terrible.
Space Needle to Space Noodle.
Don't do that. I like the idea of someone like there's probably someone like across the street who saw you starting from like their window, came outside, walked across the street just to shout up, "Don't do that!"
But no, that's the thing. It didn't sound like a shout. That's the craziest part. Is it sounded like a kid, like just standing next to me, going, "Don't do that." Don't do that.
And your wife heard it too.
Yeah.
Oh,
Because when I reminded her, she's like, "Oh god, it was horrible."
Creepy.
it's not like a weird ringtone or anything.
No,
It's probably a ghost then.
Definitely.
definitely a fourth dimensional being coming through and saying, "Don't do that," because that's what ghosts are.
That's yeah, and they speak in English.
Sometimes they can speak English in fourth dimension just because they're from a higher.
They have the Star Trek translator that just turns everything into English.
It's like
yeah,
the
but why would
TARDIS.
I
Yeah.
hear it?
Fourth dimension technology,
Oh,
Brett.
okay, cool.
Brain beaming.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, that wasn't no brain beam. We both heard it, and we both like freaked out. And
dual brain.
a dick was not dipped that day. It probably was later, but not that.
And now you
not
know
that point.
the rest of the story.
See, I don't really remember a lot of scary. I remember like instances that are scary, like being in, and Derek can attest to this, or Brady,
Yep,
either at church when it's pitch black, or at Grandview when it was really dark and all you have are just like the exit signs.
See,
I mean,
what
that's
I
not
don't
really
get, though,
scary.
that were
Is
red.
like why would you be afraid of like a house of holiness to be so scary?
It wasn't that. It was just
We're spiritual
A-
warfare.
quiet building at night and it's
Yeah.
dark.
It's just
Okay.
that those were the instances. Those were
That's
the
normally
places
large
that it
and
happened. It wasn't
creaky.
that it.
I mean,
Yeah.
like I don't know. Just speaking from somebody who would believe and go to the school or whatever, I'd probably feel comforted in the darkness of a holy place.
Well, the exit lights were bright red, so everything was bathed in somewhat red light.
Yeah. Well, red means scary. So
And
Yeah,
Brady
it
was
does.
in there, so how holy could it really be?
I was,
his genes are holy. That's about it.
hey-oh.
We have now
Coming at
transformed
you
into
live
Weenie in the Butt.
on the vibes.
Catch us a weenie in the butt.
But I mean, I don't really have any
WKKR
instances where
97.3.
people were in a church and then all of a sudden, you know, the doors flew open and then all these people quote unquote people, or you heard footsteps running, doing all this stuff, laughing. That never happened to me.
You know what makes me really sad is like I went to Des Moines schools, and of all the schools I went to Hoover, and nothing creepy ever happened. I mean, like a few creepy things did happen there, and I'll touch upon those later on. But I really wish I'd gotten the chance to go to Roosevelt, supposedly like the most haunted school in Des Moines, Iowa. Just like an insane, crazy place. Plus, like the place is built like a maze, so no matter where you're going, like you it's so easy to get lost, and you'll just end up walking in circles for hours if you don't know.
Good.
Yeah, it's bad. It's real bad.
Like, I mean, more of a jump scare than an actual, like, besides that it stayed with me the whole entire night. And I'm blaming the TV show Scandal, though I'm not actually sure if it was that. But my wife was sleeping one night, and this is when we were in the apartment, so about 2 years ago. And then it was like 2 o'clock in the morning. Our son was still pretty young, so he was in the bassinet next to our bed. Mm-hmm. And she just woke up, screamed bloody murder. And I'm not sure exactly why she did. She didn't really know at the time, too, either. But, like, just screaming and screaming and screaming. Like, I scared the crap out of me because I was asleep next to her.
I remember you telling me this story. It sounded so intense.
It was, and so I'm, like, shaking her, yelling at her to stop because I wasn't sure.
Full freak out.
Yeah, because I think somebody's in the apartment. There's something's happening, and then all of a sudden she just stops. And I was like, "What in the world was that about?" And she's like, "I have no clue," and just like rolls over and goes back to sleep.
How could a TV show called Scandal, which I think is about just like a bunch of rich bitches?
Yeah, because that's what she watched that night, and she was like, "I think that's the excuse she gave." I don't know if she didn't want to tell me what her dream was about or what, but.
It's probably
it's about me and you
about
and
that
IV.
time you went to the wrong hole.
I never go to the wrong hole.
David's aim is perfect.
There we go. I remember you telling me that, and I was like, what the fuck? I mean, okay, so my wife says creepy shit when she's sleeping. I think all my friends know this. I think the scariest thing she ever said to me, though, like, she was like dead sleeping, and then she just turned to me and she goes, "I want to cut you open and wear your skin." And I was like, "Why?" And she's like, "Just because you're just so comfy." So she meant it with love. It's like a 2-year-old who stands next to your bed and then just stands there and stares at you until you wake up, and then you're like, and you're like, "I want to hug you till you choke," or something silly like that.
See, I don't get like my daughter will do that. She'll be in our room.
Choke you to death.
No. She'll just sit next to our bed, and then she'll just start crying, which then will wake me up, and it's pitch black in her room. So I know she's there somewhere. I just don't know exactly where until she's like right in front of my face.
You want to just swing your arms, flail them wildly.
Give her
if
a
you can get some
bell.
kicks in there,
Fast.
give her a bell.
But yeah, so I mean, there's another kind of creepy thing. My wife says really creepy shit in her sleep, but then again, she says really funny shit. Like the other night, this happened like 2 weeks ago. She just gotten home. And she like it was like one of those times where you just like hit the pillow and fall asleep. And it was like 20 minutes later, and she goes, "No, that's my cookie." I've been giving her shit about it since. She's like, "Oh, I'm gonna steal your cookie."
People doing stuff in their sleep always creeps me out. 'Cause I have my friend John, he sleepwalks a lot.
Oh, that was scary.
And he was over at my parents' house, and I still live there. He was sleeping in a recliner, and he opened his eyes, and he just turned and looked at me, like wide-eyed, and didn't say anything for like 30 minutes, just staring at me. I'm like, what? And he just starts laughing, and then goes back to sleep. But I know he was asleep the whole time, because his eyes were glazed over. I'm like, I kind of inched a
So
little
does
further.
John still stay the night over at your parents, even though you don't live there?
Yeah, we've never told him we moved out. Do you guys know when Brady's gonna get here?
I'm in it now.
John, he doesn't live here. You're funny.
Here, have some pizza.
Yeah.
One time when I was young, my cousin, he used to sleepwalk all the time. And I remember one time in particular, the scariest one. Scary. He wakes up. I always slept in the hall because, like, my grandma lived in like this old Victorian house. But when we go there at Christmas time, so the whole family would be there, and I always slept on like a cot in the hallway because there weren't enough bedrooms. Whatever.
Sounds comfortable.
Yeah, it was fine. So one night, my cousin gets up in the middle of the night and walks out, and I'm awake because I hadn't fallen asleep yet, or I don't know why I was awake. But I look up, and he's just standing over me, like, staring down at me, just...
Nope.
And I'm waiting, like, what are you doing? What are you doing, Jared? And then he just didn't say a word, didn't change his expression, just turned around, walks the length of the hallway, all the way to the other end of the house, and he goes in to the bathroom, and just starts screaming and wailing, and he was, like, pounding on the wall, like, asking to be let out. Let me out!
Oh my God.
Like, full throat screaming. And I get up and I go down the hall and I open the door to the bathroom and he's in the bathtub, like pounding on the wall of the bathtub, like trying to get out into what isn't anything. And he was just, and his parents came like thudding up the stairs. And
You wake up, like, what are you guys doing?
I'm just sleeping in a bathtub. That ain't weird at all.
this is a game we play. Shut up. It's called Let Me Out. Just go downstairs. Ugh.
That's awful.
That was pretty creepy at the time. Like, now it's just a funny story. Like, hey, remember when you sleptwalk? One time he took a shit on that couch, on that cot that I slept on. I wasn't there at the time, but, like, he went down the hallway, sat on the... Did I never tell you this?
No.
He sat on
While
that bed
asleep?
and
this
took
while
a dump
asleep?
on it. While he was asleep, while he was sleepwalking.
Sleep shit.
He took a sleep dump on the bed where I normally slept. So it very well could have been my face.
So you know what? That's so weird, though, that he always returned to that cot
He
then.
kept going back to the cot all
He's
the
all
time.
like, where's Derek at?
Sorry, I've got a load for you.
I've got a little bit of payback.
Oh, he never liked me much.
At least the subconscious didn't.
No, apparently not.
That's great. Jeez.
I've had more scary dreams that happen and end up waking up in scary ways than real world scariness.
Well, yeah, you get night terrors.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well, I mean, there's the shadow people I see when I go into paralysis. But there was one dream I was having. I was at my in the dream at my grandma's house, and I like get up and I walk out of the door of this bedroom, and then the hallway starts getting longer, as they do in nightmares.
Yeah.
And then there's these black masses on either end, and they're rushing at me. And then the second they meet me, I sit straight up, like, and I'm making that noise, and it's like, I'm like, what am I doing? What the fuck is happening? And it kept going back into that dream over and over until I woke up.
that sucks.
Yeah, but I get really bad sleep paralysis, and I'll see
I said sleep terrors. I meant sleep paralysis.
and I'll see shadow people. Like, there's one time I was laying
In
on
a
my
dream
side.
or when you're awake.
It's both. So you wake up while you're still in REM sleep, and your brain is panicking because you're paralyzed,
Yeah.
so you don't act out your dreams.
Oh,
And that panic instantly makes you have nightmares in the waking state.
jeez.
And I was on my side when it happened, looking out over my room. Makes it sound like I have a huge balcony in my room. Well, we are in a nice
At the other
Victorian
mansion.
mansion.
You're
so-
right.
yeah. And there's this shadow figure. It was like standing up while I was laying down, and I moved my eyes down, and it knelt down to meet my gaze again.
Oh.
And I'm like, move a finger, move a finger, move a finger, because it started getting closer. And then I woke up.
Oof.
Yeah, I've
That
had
doesn't sound fun.
It
sleep
happens.
paralysis twice, and then just,
It happens weekly. Like, it happens all the time, and it's not even worth talking about anymore because it's just, oh, there's the shadow
It
people
again.
no.
What's up, guys?
So, you would think
What's
that
up,
you
Fred?
just like wouldn't get scared by it anymore. Then
It's more of what am I gonna see than because I know that something's gonna be in my room, in my head, in my room, but
yeah,
it's still creepy.
yeah.
I think the scariest thing that ever happened to me while I was sleeping, and it's not even anything scary, but at the time it was scary because I didn't know what it was. I was laying in my bed, and it was like an old spring mattress, and like I to this day I didn't Google it, so I don't know what caused it to happen, but I feel confident that there was a logical reason why it happened. But the springs like coiled at the foot of my bed, so I'm like laying in bed, and it was early morning. I had just woken up, and the bottom of my mattress, like down where my feet was, like starts sinking, like someone had put weight on it, like someone jumped on the end of the bed, just like down to the floor. And like to the point where I could have like slid out of the bed. Like
Oh,
that's how
it's
far down it went. I was like,
Freddy
oh my
Krueger.
gosh. It was really, I jumped up and there wasn't anything there, and then all of a sudden it just popped back up. I don't know what caused it. I don't know why it happened.
That's something weird.
Yeah.
That's fourth dimensional beast.
That's what it was.
No, that's spooky as hell.
Well, see, your basement in your house, you guys always said was haunted or something was.
There was something going on. I have no clue. That place used to scare the shit out of me. I mean, the idea of staying another night in that house kind of scares me still. But like upstairs, I'd be all right. Downstairs, nah, I don't want to do that ever again. It's just, I don't know, man. Like, honestly, I think what it was, and this is gonna sound like really new agey, hokey pokey bullshit, but so much negativity happened in that house. So I think what happens is that I just projected all of my negativity and just made it feel like a fucking horrible place to me. And then if I was telling people, oh yeah, like I feel like weird feelings of guilt and hatred and stuff like that in this house, and everybody else would start to feel like they felt it. But I can't be for certain what really was happening there. All I know is, like, when I was a teenager one time, this is like before my mom died, it was like New Year's, and me and an old friend of mine named John, we were hanging out in my basement. I'm playing drums, and I have beer bottles sitting on my dresser, and they're empty, and like they're like in the dead center of the dresser, and I'm rocking out. My friend's watching, and then like a beer bottle just goes boom, and like hits my drum set, and I'm just like, and he's like, "Did you see that?" I saw it. I was like, "Oh, of course I saw it." Well, what the hell caused? I don't know. And just like all these weird little things, and it was always like in one section of the house where it was always the creepiest, which was around that closet, especially after I cleaned it out. Now, like, I mean, like, there was a point in time when, yes, I did think it was haunted and everything else, because I wasn't 100% atheist at the time and everything else, and it's just like...
And that's where you changed your little brother that you didn't talk about.
Yeah.
In that corner.
Yeah, so what happened was... so I remember one time, like, we were smudging the house with... a
smudger.
Yeah.
Yep.
And...
Sage.
That's it. And that's when I realized I hate the smell of sage. But beyond that, it's probably because I'm evil. But beyond that, so we're smudging it, and then we get to that closet, and like we put it in there, and it just gets extinguished instantly. I watched it happen, and I was just like, "That's weird." And she's like, "Yeah, that's not supposed to happen." So we just kind of
doing that.
Melissa. And so we just kind of shut the door, locked it back up, and just kind of went back upstairs.
I don't remember that closet.
It was behind the drum kit.
Okay, so I'm at your door.
When you're ready to see the closet will reveal itself to you.
So when you go into my room, yep, and then if you look to the right,
yep,
there's all the shelving and shit, and then there was like a wooden closet there that somebody had built.
Oh, okay.
Now, you've been here. You've seen this room.
Yeah.
And you don't remember seeing
the
closet.
Remember seeing the closet.
The twist is that this is all in AJ's head. There was never a closet to begin with. He's seeing a closet that's not there.
That's scary.
What if the closet wanted only AJ to see it?
That's right.
No, because other people saw it.
Or did
The
they?
chosen.
David, did
do you see those people here now?
Did you ever experience any unease while there?
Oh, David.
Not
David.
Not that I can recall.
I don't think David ever really had any creepy times there. I know my dad did. He was scared to death of that house too, and my mom. The
same
reason,
place?
Yeah.
Like the only time that I can think of that I didn't want to go down in the basement was there was a time, one night where I didn't have to work and you did, and that was when you were working at Walmart.
Yeah.
And
No, I was working at Ivy. I never worked at
somewhere.
Walmart when I worked there.
Somewhere.
Yeah.
You worked somewhere overnight.
You mean at Goldman Sachs?
Yeah.
I had to count the money. It was a hard job.
AJ does the books.
That's right.
Just millions, and they made me do it by hand once.
It's ridiculous.
Job
That's
security.
why I quit that job. It's just so demeaning to sit there and count ones all night.
Who needs six
I
figures?
wasn't even good enough to count the 5s or the 10s or the 20s.
Don't even look at him.
But I think that was the only because the whole house was dark, and you said because I had a key to your house at that time,
Yeah.
and you had
Hell,
your
you have a key to my place now.
I do too. But you had your computer upstairs, so I could watch movies on that. So I didn't want to go down in the basement just because I don't know. It just was a whole entire
Something
empty
about
house. Yeah, just something I don't know. It just
The basements are always where murders happen, so I don't blame
It's
you.
true. Because you don't want to murder someone in your living room.
No.
If you
Plus,
want to, when
woo
you
guests,
we've all thought about killing our wives. You want to do it in the basement.
I have. I love.
I'm not getting it on my Xbox.
the warranty's up.
But no, I mean, like, yeah, I had lots of scary shit happen there. My parents bought a fish tank and didn't put fish in it just so they would have the sound of, like, the water cleaner. So then it wasn't ever silent in the house, because when it was silent, they would both hear shit, apparently. My dad, like, straight up was like, oh, yeah, I've heard this place is the scariest place I've ever lived. And we lived in an apartment over on Welbeck, down by the Ghetto Hy-Vee on
Hills.
MLK. Like, horrible stuff happened there. Like, but this was like real people. They would like stare into your windows and shit. Oh yeah, it was awful. It was
That's worse. That's worse.
it was awful.
Give me a
That's
Joe's
like
any day.
Steve has a story about because he used to work there third shift, and he says back in his younger days when he would actually chase people for stealing, and so where that hill starts to go up and there's all those just really wispy thin trees,
Yeah.
and so they couldn't find the guy. Like they knew he was somewhere, and then all of a sudden they just see the cherry of a cigarette like up on the hill. So like all these night crew people go running out and like tackle him.
Sick him.
For the night crew.
That's crazy. Well, they started closing that store
Yeah.
4 hours a night after that.
Yeah,
From 1 to 5 a.m.
because I didn't feel like probably paying a police officer to sit in there.
Probably.
Didn't you say you would sit on the deck of the house across the street and watch things move in front
Yeah.
of the windows?
Most definitely.
See, I
When it-
remember
when it
you
was
guys saying
empty?
stuff because I was like, we'd be out 1-2 o'clock in the morning over at like Melissa's house or whatever, Austin's house, and then you'd be like, "There's something in there," and I don't know, maybe it's just because I was too much of a skeptic of ghostly type things that I just didn't see it.
I don't know, like,
But
but
I
I know that all of my friends, like, you weren't there. But this was like around the time when you stopped hanging out with me because you were starting to date Jess, and Poon is higher on the pedestal than friendship, which I completely get. Don't worry, like I understand.
Never put on the pedestal.
There was a time when we were all sitting across the street, and like I knew my dog was downstairs because I locked her down there before we. And that sounds horrible, but like all of her food and stuff was in the basement, so. But she was downstairs, and like I just left one lamp on upstairs, and it was like right in front of the window, and we had curtains there.
Parents were gone.
Well, this is at the point after my mom died,
Okay.
and my dad had like split, and he was just like, "You can live here, I don't care."
Okay.
And we're just sitting there, and then like the lamp starts like shaking, like the light just starts going like back and forth and shit. And then like I would see like the curtain just like shudder, and our air conditioner vents weren't anywhere near there; they were on the side. I mean, but like other creepy shit. I remember one time after like a huge storm, it knocked our power out for like a week. I think we had actually like an F1 tornado go through Beaverdale, and I was sleeping upstairs at the time, and this was when my parents were still alive and everything. So I was like a teenager, I think, and I'm sleeping upstairs because I was like, "Fuck, I'm not sleeping in the basement. Not hell no. I ain't got no power." I
It was
didn't.
cold down there.
It would get really cold. But this was during the summer, so it would get super stuffy down there too. And I was like, screw that. I'm just going to sleep up here with the air circulation. And the way it was set up is like you come in and like there was like a huge picture window, and that's where we saw like I saw the curtains and the lamp move. and then like you could see out the side of the house, which looked at our neighbor's house through a window in the dining room. Well, our couch was against the other side wall. So I'm like laying there and I'm trying to sleep, and I just see like flashlights start going by that window, and I was just like, nope. I just froze up. It scared the shit out of me, and I don't like nobody ever came up to the door or anything. It's just like I couldn't help but think that somebody might have been trying to break in somewhere, but I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, like non-reality things, like I don't know. I had all sorts of weird things in that house. There was a time I came home from work at 4 a.m, and like I've said in like the past like several podcasts, I've always had a surround sound in my stupid bedroom. Everywhere I've lived, everywhere I've gone, I've always had a surround sound. So I'm sitting there, and like I would get off work at 4 a.m. after making newspapers at the register, and so it was about 4:30 by the time I got home, just because of how long it takes to travel back and forth. And I'm sitting down, I was like, oh, I'm so tired. And I heard somebody say, help me, through my speakers. I don't know what the hell it was. I went upstairs, I thought my parents were fucking with me somehow. I was like, what'd you yell help me for? And they're like, we didn't do anything. What are you talking about?
God, that's awesome. We should go back.
Well,
do a ghost
first
now
off,
To the
that place has
podcast
been
from there.
fully renovated.
Yep.
So they probably got the worst of it because ghosts get angry when you clean up.
Well, you know what's funny is all this shit happened when I cleaned up the basement, because it was a fucking mess for a long time. Because when I moved out, I left it torn apart. And then I got all of my friends to come over one day, and we just cleaned the shit out of the basement. We had like 12 bags of garbage and everything. I mean, these were like the heavy-duty construction bags. So those were big-ass bags.
Yes.
As when I cleaned out that closet and everything, I found like fucking ram horn, or not, but bull horns in there, like the kind you mount in your fucking Cadillac.
Yeah.
So I just put them up on the wall because I was like, fuck it.
Haunted bullhorns.
creepy.
Haunted bullhorns. Maybe it was just the spirit of that bull.
Way to go.
It was just running around looking for his horns.
I thought I was supposed to be in a china shop.
He headbutted that beer can, or was it beer bottle?
It was a beer bottle.
Beer
Give me
bottle.
my horn. Give me my- How dare you drink Ice House? That's terrible. I was a 16-year-old kid. You drink what you get. Well, I feel like I've taken up a lot of sound space here. David, do you have anything? Brady?
Not that I don't think I've told before. Have I ever told one about Nick's creepy basement?
Nope.
Well, he had a half basement where the ceilings were like 7 feet tall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the sound was really crisp in there. And remember, we'd hear footsteps all the time upstairs when nobody else was there. And
That
they had
happened to me a lot, too.
a really short but really steep stairwell going back up to the main floor. And we always sprinted up it because the second you turn your back, you're like, something's going to fucking follow me up. Just like no reason to, but you always had that feeling of unease.
I mean, like, I know that's pretty common when you're a kid. Just like, everybody's scared of basements
We
when
were
you're
like
a kid.
18.
But yeah, like, I mean, that would happen to me at that house, where like, it'd go stretches like for weeks when I was fine. I just kind of moped my way up and down, you know, 'cause I'm like super depressed and everything. But there were days when it's just like, I need to run the fuck up these stairs, right the fuck down, get the fuck out.
Yep.
Yeah.
So it'd be like,
Yeah. And Nick, he told me because there were no windows down there, so it was pitch black, like black as black. And he would have the door rattle, and sometimes it would fly open. He's just like, fuck. Just get up and close it, and it would keep happening.
that's terrifying.
And
That would be scary.
There was one night.
I'd get a rope, tie that thing shut.
I was sleeping. It doesn't matter the dimension. I was on the floor, like right here, and there's a couch where my friend Robbie and John were sleeping. And I heard this breathing when I had my eyes open, like this disembodied breathing, like say like right here.
So not from the couch.
No. And then it was coming from where their laundry room was, back behind all the walls. And I'd close my eyes and I'd hear footsteps. And every time I opened my eyes, I'd go back to breathing, which was scary as fuck. I'm like, oh, okay, I'm tired. I'm going to sleep. I don't care. And both John and Robbie said they saw this matte blackness in the dark. And I had them tell me what they each saw separately so they didn't collude to mess with my head. And they said they both saw something like hovering over me, and it was terrifying. I didn't sleep well that night. It was not fun.
Clearly.
It would be scary.
That basement was messed up.
I remember at my grandma's house, that Victorian, the big old one where my cousin shat on the bed. The stairway that went up to where the cot was in the rooms upstairs. There was an old like front of the house that they didn't use. It was like a formal like
Foyer
front.
or whatever.
Yeah, it was a big house, and they blocked it off with like boxes and crap because they never used those doors. But they were all windows, like all around, and it looked out on this big, huge porch that was into the front yard.
Yeah.
And everybody always used a side door in the house. So anyway, as a kid, every night, you know, you go upstairs and it's dark out, so you can't see anything. It's just dark. And when I was small, that didn't bother me at all because I didn't think about it. It's like, I'm going upstairs.
Yeah.
I have to. Yeah. And so somewhere around, I don't remember how old I was. I must have been like 6 or 7. I'm turning the stairs to go up, and I see something out of the corner of my eye. And so I look back at the door and the window, and it's normally like just black night, and there's an old lady.
What?
Just like standing there, like half out of the shadows, like so the light from the inside is like hitting her, and she's just standing there, like staring in the house. And I just like just sprint up the stairs and dive in the bed. And ever since then, like to this day, if I went to that house and it were night outside, I would like run up those stairs. I can't like turn my back on that window without like booking it up the stairs.
See, I had the same, not any spooky thing that happened, but there was, my grandparents had this beautiful old farmhouse, kind of the same thing, really large. Upstairs was like 5 bedrooms or 6 bedrooms, something like that. And I would always sleep in either my grandfather's room because they both like snored heavily or something, so they would sleep in second room sometimes. And then my grandma had her own room.
Sounds like my grandparents now, and 20 years ago.
Well, my grandma also had her room, and so my sister, Becky, would sleep in with Nana, and Beth would always have this room that was all the way around the stairs because it had a huge banister that went all the way down around, just a big square. And that room, I would never go in that room. I don't know why. It always felt colder, and I'm sure that there's just reasons not that it was haunted.
Yeah.
But it just
Probably
always
haunted.
Let's leap to the haunting.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's fair.
It's October.
It's October. It was haunted. I don't know. Maybe it's because it also had like pastel purples, like really kind of light. So it just always felt different than the rest of the house.
So you have a
wasn't
fear
cozy.
of pastels?
Yeah.
Are you sure you're not gay?
Just embrace it.
Just embrace it.
But it just
I
that room
hate
felt,
Easter colors.
that room felt different than the rest of the house did.
Oh, dude, I totally understand.
And like then my parents would sleep in the middle room between my grandma's room, that room. There was another room that nobody ever stayed in for whatever reason.
Probably because somebody died there.
Or they might. I think actually there's only 4 rooms. That room I think just took up the other part of that square, and that room had a big, huge open section on the opposite wall where you could go up to the attic.
Yeah.
And I would hate it because I had this beautiful, like down bed. I mean, it just basically was a big beanbag with down in it.
Yeah.
And it was awesome because you just sunk into the middle of it, and it was really comfortable.
311's down, just like a bunch of MP3s of that.
Just the single on the CD.
Just filled with down. I think I'm not a dancer.
But they would always, and it was this kind of really thin, small hallway, but it was dark, and they would always put the bed in between like that opening. And so I hated when I had to sleep in there because I hated having my back to to the attic just 'cause,
Yeah.
I don't know,
Yep.
it just was creepy and freaky.
Yeah, because something could like peek their head over and look down at you or something.
Well, I mean, it had one of those pulse things, so you hear like,
Oh God!
the
Fuck no!
springs.
Fuck no!
Nope.
Evacuate! Evacuate! I would never stay in a house that had one of those. So like when I go house hunting, I'm gonna have to check like everywhere for those because I'm not staying in a house that has one of those because fuck you.
You just board it
I've
up,
seen enough
framing
movies.
screws.
Every single scary movie has those.
It's true.
So
It's because they're good set pieces and
so
sound cool.
I'm
That's
not
right.
gonna have one in my real house. Your spooky shit staying out of my life.
All right, I think it's time for the spookiest story of them all.
Oh, the one where I ran around the mall in the Speedo?
Yes.
Boom.
So, what happened was I decided to wear a Speedo and I went to the mall and I didn't wear anything else.
Paint a picture.
and then he just sang the Chris Farley song. Batman in a little Speedo.
No. I mean, like, I've got more, like, scary niblets I could throw out there.
Dude,
but
do it.
you want more?
I've heard all your scary stories, but I never get tired of them.
You just want more. So, in the house that we lived in before that, a friend of mine used to live across the street, and strangely enough, his name was Austin too.
Whoa.
Different Austin. though.
Mirror World.
Mirror World. So like I used to go and hang out with him all the time, and I'd stay the night over there. Well, like we would start hanging out in the basement, but we'd only like hang out in the front room. And I was like, let's go check out the back room. And they had like the scariest basement I've ever seen in my entire life, dude. Like it like looked like it went into a cave.
Oh, like an unfinished cellar.
It was just like dirt hole, just dug into the ground.
Like a sex dungeon.
It was the scariest thing I could imagine somebody having in their house. Like, why do you have that? How many bodies are buried there?
Yeah.
And
Where
who did
else
you
are
kill?
Gonna do rituals.
I mean, because, like, okay, like, the guy that lived there, because, like, it was my friend and his mom, and then they just lived with this dude named Jerry. And he was kind of weird. I mean, I'm not saying that he murdered women and buried them in his basement, but I'm pretty sure murdered women buried him in his basement.
Probably. Those rooms have very little use.
Well, 'cause,
besides
like-
just body dumping.
Yeah, because, like, his basement was just full of, like, old weaponry, like swords and crossbows and
Things you might use to torture people.
yeah,
Yeah.
it was really
In your
crappy.
rape
Now that
dungeon.
I think about it, I'm like thinking more. I'm like, oh man, I'm pretty sure he murdered somebody at some point, buried
guy's
him in
like-
that fucking house.
It's like Joffrey from Game of Thrones.
But anyway, so like that basement used to scare the shit out of us, and like after like hanging out down there one day, like we felt like something was like watching us from there, and so we just never played down there ever again. We were like, nope, that just doesn't exist anymore. It's a
See, I'm sure now I probably would be freaked out by it, but the house, I'm not sure if it was where I was born, but the house when I was a little kid, the parsonage, which is just a building that the church owns that the pastors would use. And I had like a huge room, or at least when I was small, it probably wasn't as big as I remember it, but it was a large room for like a little, twerp like me.
yeah.
My sisters had to share a room, and so it was a smaller upstairs. There was a bathroom, my room on the right, middle of my parents', left side of the hallway was my sister's. And my sister's room connected to my room by a little passageway that went all the way around my parents' room to my closet. And I'm sure right now
Wow.
it probably would like freak me out.
Yeah.
Because my sisters would, like Beth, I think, would go through. I don't know if Becky did, but I wouldn't go through there just because I was always afraid of being trapped somewhere behind the walls of my parents' room.
Creatures would get you.
Yep, that too. So I would go and like do flashlights in there, but I would never actually go in there.
Oh, fuck that.
Yeah, I'm sure I would hate it now, but as a kid, it was just I never really thought about it as something can crawl out and get me.
But
It can.
with that house that I lived at, my basement was like creepy as hell too. Like the foundation was really bad there, but I mean that just happens. I completely understand that now as an adult. But when you're a kid, it just adds like even more of a creep factor when like the ground is starting to crack and like have like dirt come up between the cracks and shit, like all over the basement. It was separated into two sides. There's one long room here, one long room here. The one on the left we used for storage. That's where our washer and dryer was. We had a couch down there in case people wanted to crash over there. So my parents were big partiers. And then on the other side, we barely put anything over there. The only thing I can ever remember being over there was empty kegs from when they would throw kegers. But then, like, there was a partition in the wall with old style wooded,
Paneling?
Not paneling. It was actual, like, 2x4s.
Oh, okay.
So it was slatted through. And there was, like, one of those big doors with the Z on it because it's, like, handmade and shit. It used to be the cold chamber for the house. It had, like, the cold chamber window and everything.
Definitely haunted. Now that I know there's a cold chamber.
The scariest part, to me at least, was the fact that there was a light in there that you could turn on. And then when you did, there were kids' drawings, like, all over the walls.
Oh my god.
Yeah, like with crayon. And there was a window in there, or not a window, but a mirror with a medicine cabinet.
No.
And the mirror never got dirty.
This
And,
house.
and that
man.
house,
No.
that
The
house,
worst
like,
house ever. I would have moved like on day one. Like, we're
like
getting
my
the fuck
friend
out of
Brandon
here.
and I were cleaning it out one day, and we were looking for my Game Gear out of my, because this is before I realized that.
So this is Des Moines. There's millions of houses. You could go anywhere. This is like middle of nowhere.
Well, like my
There's only the
parents,
one
they
house.
only had so much money, and we liked living in the Beaverdale area and everything. And
I'm sure there are ghosts,
In the
but
Satan house.
in this neighborhood.
And the worst
Can't
part
beat
is
this
that my
price.
parents, like, when I got older, they corroborated, like, almost all of the things that I said. They were like, yeah, creepy shit happened in all of those houses that we ever lived in. Sorry. It's just like, oh, okay. But anyway, so me and my friend were, like, looking for my Game Gear. This is before I realized it got stolen by my sister's ex-boyfriend. That's a different story. So, like, we're looking for it because we want to play I had some, like, Star Wars game on there or some shit. I don't know. We're cleaning it out. No one else is home. We have the lights off in the other rooms. We're, like, jamming music in my room and digging through, like, because the way the closet worked was, like, it was in the wall.
Is that the closet?
No, this is completely different
Okay.
house.
Oh.
I'm ready to keep up. Sorry.
This is like when I was
Had a rough day.
way littler. Like this is like from like 8 to 16 is when I lived there, and then we lived there for like a year before sometime in the past, and then we moved out to Welbeck, and then we moved back to that house.
Okay.
I don't know.
Gotcha.
I don't know what the hell my parents were doing. Drugs. Anyway, so I mean, it's a part of my past. It happened. Whatever. Anyway, so the way that it worked is like the closet was as wide as the room was, except for like you had to go in and then it would L all the way back through.
Oh god.
So like we're like digging and digging through this area that everybody's like ended up throwing shit into. And like we're just hanging out, we're like looking for stuff. And it's like, oh dude, check this out. Oh whoa, look at this, And then we hear, AJ, come out here, we have pizza. Sounds like my mom saying that. So me and Brandon both turned and we're like, pizza, hell yeah. We go out there, pitch black. No one's out there. And I was like, hello?
Oh no.
Nothing. We turn on the light. Nothing. We have our kitchen light on. So now, like, all the rooms that we could see into are lit. So then we use that as our start off point. Turning on lights as we go to the front door to look outside. No cars. Bedroom. Nobody's in my parents' bedroom. Nobody's in the bathroom. The basement has like an eye hook lock on it. It's still locked off. And we're just like, okay, we're just going to go hang out in the living room and watch MTV now.
I would have gone for like a walk. Like, let's leave.
I would have been pissed
here's the
about
thing.
not having pizza.
It was like
There's
Well,
this
hey.
goddamn pizza, Mom.
hey, we were pissed about the pizza. And we even mentioned it to my mom when she got home. We were like, man, yeah, we heard you come home earlier and say pizza, and then you guys ditched out on us. Even
She
though,
like, what the hell are you talking about?
yeah, exactly. And
Were
but
you playing in that powder in my sock drawer?
well, I tell you what, no, no, like there was another thing that happened with the same friend staying the night. I had a bed in there, and then I also had a recliner for my friends to like sit in when they'd come over and we'd play video games or whatever. They could sleep, and it was like this huge leather recliner, super comfy. And Brandon's crashed out in there, and I'm laying on the bed, and I'm like pretty much asleep. And lightning goes off and like kills all of the power in the house because like I always slept with my TV on because I just straight up admit like I was creeped out.
Yeah, I would be too. After disembodied pizza voice.
So like lightning flashes, all of our power goes out, and like whatever. Lightning hits again, and then my friend screams. And I'm like, what? My mom comes running into the room because she thought one of us got hurt. And he goes, there was an old lady standing in your doorway. And my mom goes, oh, don't worry about that. That's my grandma.
Oh my God. No.
So, I used that over him all the time. He would like want to come over and hang out. But he didn't want to hang out with me. He just wanted to look at all the porn magazines I had in my room. So, like, I'd be like, come on, let's go play some PlayStation. He was like, no, I'm good here. You know, flipping through, like, a house.
You know grandma's watching you.
And that's what I'd be like, all right, I'll leave you here with grandma. Have fun. He's like, oh, fuck this. He'd run out of there, slam the door.
Back to your mom, just like, oh, yeah. It's like, no, you're not supposed to be, like, yeah, that's normal.
Like, I don't know, like...
That's creepy.
I never had, like, the grandma experience. And, like, almost everybody that lived in that house did. I never did. I saw the rag man in that house.
What?
Which I've told you about.
Apparently not.
The rag man? When I was a kid, they used to, like, crawl...
AJ's version of Slender Man.
It used to crawl in on the floor, and it was, like, dressed in rags. It was, like, almost, like, skeletal because it was so skinny. Had like really long stringy hair and would just like crawl into my room and just stare up at me.
What the fuck? I don't remember the rag man. That's something I would remember.
Oh yeah, that happened to me all the time when I was a kid.
That's different than the Raggedy Man from Doctor Who. It's a much worse version.
Much worse. That's just something that I grew up with and I thought it was normal, and I ended up telling my parents about it, and they're like, you're not supposed to see that kind of stuff. You were dreaming. You were having bed. I was like, I used to see him almost every night. That's why I made you guys turn on the light in the hallway. No, you were dreaming.
Oh my God, the rag man. I'm gonna have nightmares now.
Well, that reminds me.
I mean, like when I think of it, it scares the shit out of me. Like I could still like picture him perfectly in my head. He never seemed malevolent though. He always seemed like he was watching over me.
Hey guys, I'm just...
But like, I mean, you know,
I
just
appreciate it because you pick a less creepy look. Did you like the Michelin Man?
That'd be so cool.
You
just like a big tire guy.
Hello, Andrew.
Everything's fine.
No, it's like this like skin and bones guy, like dressed in rags with long scraggly hair, just crawling into my room, and just staring up at me.
Nope.
That reminds me of the story of there was a girl when I was down in South Carolina who used to babysit. She babysat the same family. It was kids all the time, and we were in college, so she would go off campus to like their house, and I think it was a professor's family or someone that worked for the school. It doesn't matter. So on this particular night, she's there, and the parents are going on their date night. It's like the same night every week, and so the kids are going to bed, and she's walking through, and she's fussing and cleaning the house, and they've got this new statue in the living room of a clown, and it's like freaking her out because clowns are weird and scary anyway, and it's like one of those things where it's like eyes follow you like as you move around the room.
So they were painted dead center.
Yeah So like the eyes are following around the room, and it's weirding her out, so she's like ignoring it, and she puts the kids to bed, and the parents call to check in after the kids are in bed, or when they should have been in bed. And, just checking in, make sure everything's fine. She's, yep, everything's fine. And I know it's not a problem. Like, well, I just wanted to ask first, like, is it okay if I put a sheet over the clown statue in the living room? Because it just kind of freaked me out. And the mom goes, we don't have a clown statue. Get the girls out of the house.
Oh, my fuck.
And so she does. She, like, runs up, gets girls, gets out, calls cops. And it turns out it's this guy.
No!
Who's like mentally insane. And he'd found the key under the doormat in the back door and had been coming in the house for weeks.
What the
And the kids
fuck?
had told the mom that a clown was coming in their room at night. And she thought, well, they were just dreaming and they were just making it up. But it was a real person coming in at night and standing in their room.
Oh my God.
I saw that coming because like I was like, oh dude, this is just a creepypasta. He's telling us a creepypasta, and then he told us the last part, and I was like, oh fuck, you just scared the piss out of me. I have to go bathroom. You folks,
God, that is terrifying.
Yep.
I'd rather have all the demons and ghosts and fourth dimensional spirits in the world in my apartment than one actual crazy clown.
Right. That's the thing, because there's nothing you can do, because crazy you can't predict. Because I taught in a small town in Oregon, and if you've never been there, you're lucky, because it's terrible. It's like 1,000 people maybe that live there, and like half of them are mentally insane. I remember going into a restaurant down there, because I would frequently have to stay late for like, I'm a band teacher, so I would have to stay late for like pep bands or football games or whatever random thing. So my wife came down and we'd go to dinner. I remember sitting and eating, and this lady comes in, and she sits at the booth next to us. Well, first, like, she's wearing like an all yellow slicker, and she like it, which is weird, like a yellow, like a raincoat slicker.
Yeah.
But it's like pants too, pants and coat. Yeah. And she walks in, and she's just got like a crazed look in her eye, and like scraggly blonde hair, and she looks at me, and I just look up, like I just see her, acknowledge her existence. I didn't like make a face or like do anything weird. I just looked at her and then looked back to my food, and she goes, "What?"
Oh, God.
And I'm like, nothing. She said, I didn't dress myself this way. And I just said, I didn't say you did. And I don't have a problem with the way you're dressed. And because she's fucking insane, and you don't know what a crazy person's going to do. She winds up sitting there for like the rest of our meal, like the next 30 minutes, just sitting and staring at the menu with it like an inch from her face, just holding it in front of her face and not moving, just holding it for like 30 minutes. 30 minutes not moving. And so that's the kind of thing, like, you can't predict what a crazy person will do, because it makes sense to me when I'm walking down the sidewalk. Oh, I shouldn't pick up a shovel and shove it through that person's face. But a crazy person goes, I wonder what's in their face. Like,
I want to get to the meaty goodness in the center.
Like, crazy people are scary.
God. It's true.
And it was like that whole town. Like, I walked downtown Des Moines at 3 a.m. with a $100 bill hanging out my back pocket, and it wouldn't scare me one tiny bit. But I would not walk down that street in broad daylight. There's like one street in that town. I wouldn't go down the street. It was scary. Yeah, that street. The one that existed.
Well, since you're already on a roll with it, why don't you go ahead and end up our podcast tied up with a nice scary bow.
So this is a long time ago. This would have been like 2003 and 2004. And I went to, I'll just say the school, I don't care. If you don't want me to say it, you can bleep it out when you're
Bob Evans.
I went to Bob Jones University.
Bob Evans.
I always say Bob Evans. Barbecue. He makes the really good mashed potatoes and the mac and cheese and sides that you can buy at the store.
Yeah.
So like whenever I think of Bob Jones, I immediately think like Bob Evans. It makes so good food.
It's good.
I want to go to Bob Evans University.
Why couldn't we all just go to Bob Evans?
It's not too late.
But then after I hear Bob Jones, I always think of the Lady Killers.
Oh, right. Yes, that movie came out like when I was in school there, and it was so funny to me. At the time, I didn't appreciate the movie. I thought Tom Hanks was amazing.
Yeah, well, he's always amazing.
But I was just kind of, oh. But it was funny that Bob Jones was mentioned in it like 3 times.
I'm just going to give all this money to Bob Jones University.
That's right. And what was that? Oh, gosh, what's his name? The guy from Spotlight, the drummer guy. He played Jameson in
Not
Spider-Man.
It's not Spotlight you're thinking
Just
of. You're
kidding.
Oh,
thinking
not Spotlight. I'm thinking of that. What's that stupid drumming
Whiplash.
movie? Whiplash. Thank you.
J.K. Simmons.
J.K. Simmons. He plays the guy with IBS.
Yeah.
Lady Kiss. I keep shitting himself.
And he's all like, all right, well, I told Mountain Girl about everything. Well, hold on, IBS. Yo, what the fuck you mean you told Mountain Girl? Well, we're a partnership, and I tell Mountain Girl about everything that happens.
That's
I
not
love
bad.
that movie. It's so good.
I really like him. He's so funny, and he's great dramatic or comedy, whichever way he goes.
Dude, yeah, him and Whiplash is insane.
Such a good
That
movie.
Whiplash movie is like the closest thing to real, like to what music school is like.
Yeah.
That I've never been struck by a music instructor, but I've been cursed at and like sworn and yelled in my face
I will
before.
fuck you like a pig.
I told it. I shouldn't
For
even tell
one
that story.
father fucking second. I love how he just
Why'd I
like,
throw a cymbal at you or a chair at you, Nina?
yeah.
So I'm at Bob Jones University, and there was one particular semester where like there was a lot of weird things that went on.
Would you say they were Stranger Things?
They were stranger than normal things.
Alright.
And it started with we got called together. They would frequently, like every day at 11, you had chapel. And it was like a religious service that they had in the middle of the day. And it was nice because it signaled that you get to go eat lunch. That was like the woo! And also you learned about Jesus. So they would pull us together, and like the whole student body was like, at that time I think it was around like 5,000-6,000 people, but we all fit in this one hall called FMA, the Founders Memorial Auditorium. But they had a smaller hall that sat about like 3,000, so they would sometimes break the student body up into like two groups and have like large group meetings or whatever. And so they had like half of the student body in one of these large halls, and they've got like the video projector screens down, and out comes the president of the university, and he's talking to us, and he says, we brought you here today. He has this real distinct way of talking. I won't even do it, but he talks like this. Anyway,
Oh, God.
he says, we brought you here today because we need to tell you about some stuff that happened, and we need to show you because we think you need to see it. And everyone's just kind of like, "Whoa, okay." And they start telling the story about this girl who had attended the university and died the previous week. And it comes out that apparently like she'd been like attending like spiritual counseling because she was having all these like issues like hearing voices and like just crazy stuff, weird stuff. But no one knew, like it was really kind of like hush hush like how she died. We just knew she died on the campus. And then they play this video, and it's a surveillance camera from that building we were in. The building we were in was one of the few buildings on the campus that had like surveillance cameras. And right across the street from Rodehaver Auditorium was the science building. The science building is like perfectly square, and it had a dome, like a blue dome on the top of it. And so you can see this in the camera. And you see a girl crawl out on her hands and feet like an animal, like crawl out, like almost like scuttily, like moving not like a person normally moves.
Yeah.
And it's this girl, and we know it's that girl because they tell us it is before they show the video. And she goes to the edge of the science building, and it was bricks. So there's like little like divots in it because it's brick. And she scales the side of the science building and crawls up on the top of the blue dome and just leaps into the air. And it's like she kind of hovers for a second and then falls straight back on her back and apparently like breaks her spine on the roof of the building and dies like spread eagle on the top of this building. And so they show us this, and they show us like it seemed obvious from the video that there's supernatural things at work. Like this is not something a normal human can do.
Yeah.
Or at least
Did
not
she like jump really high?
higher than you would think a girl could jump.
Yeah. Okay.
You know, high enough to like get herself flat and then fall back on her back.
That's crazy.
I don't know, just the idea of watching a girl crawl to a building and then scale the side of it. Ugh.
Yeah.
Fuck that.
Yeah, it was weird. And it was made more weird because there was like no audio and you're just seeing it like on a surveillance camera. And then it came to be, they tell us that she they had problems where they thought she was demon possessed, and they had brought in like somebody to try and like exorcise her demons or get them out or whatever. But they believed that they missed one because they said that she had like multiple demons. I don't know. So anyway, cut to a week later. Now this story is coming from my roommate so I wasn't there. I didn't see it. He did. So there's a room in the Bob Jones Library where no students are allowed to go that's full of books that deal with exorcism. Because they don't want students reading about demons and I don't know what. So, like, but it's a room where, as a resource for, like, pastors, if you're, like, a local pastor or whatever down there in South Carolina, that you can go to the school and be like, I want to read about how to deal with these demons.
Yeah.
And so
yeah, because, like, typically, isn't it, like, if you, like, say their names and stuff, then you're welcoming them to your presence or whatever.
Yeah. I don't know.
More susceptible.
Yeah.
I've not read enough about it to know, but...
Belial!
But the room exists, and most of the students know about it, but they don't know where it is because they don't tell students where it is. But my roommate was a janitor, and he was in charge of cleaning the library. And once a semester, he cleaned this room. And so this night happens to be that night. Now, fast forward to when I find out the story. I'm in bed, like at night, and boom, the door slams open, and he just kind of falls in the room on the ground, and I flick on the light. I have a lamp next to my bed, and I roll over, and he's just like, and just crying, just tears coming down his face, and just like gasping, and like, he's in hysterics.
Yeah.
And we're all like, what the fuck? Except we didn't say what the fuck down there. We said, oh my gosh.
Golly, what happened?
Golly, gee whiz, buddy.
Jimmy Jillikers, what just happened to you? Oh, jeez.
It's like, oh, you seem real upset. And so he tells us this story. And I had known for a while that he was struggling with doubts about religion and spirituality and things like that in general. And it was an issue. And it's an issue for most religious kids at one point in time or another. And so he goes in, he had just had like a double whammy. Like that day he had failed a test in one of his classes. And I guess like it was a major test, so he's probably going to fail the class. And his girlfriend broke up with him. Like on the same day. So he was having a shit time. And he had to go to a shit job cleaning the library. So he's going to the library, and it winds up that it's that night where he has to clean the room. Now, there are lots of stories that I cannot corroborate on the campus about, like, kids saying they can hear, like, books flying around in the room. And, like, oh, yeah, the books will just slam against the wall, and you'll hear it through the wall. And I don't know if that's true. That's just what... I never heard that, but that's what people say. But, of course, that story gets around, and so he's cleaning that room. And he steps in the room. This is him telling me the story now. He steps in the room, and he flicks on the light, and he just looks around, and everything's still. And he says, okay, show me something.
Uh-oh.
Show me anything to make me think that any of this is real. And nothing happens. And he cleans the room. He's finishing up. And everybody else is gone. He's made sure that he's the last one. Because he doesn't want to go back to... Because when you're done, you're supposed to go back to your dorm. And he doesn't want to go back to his dorm. So he goes back one last time before he leaves for the night. And he throws open the door and he looks in. He goes, last chance. Show me anything to make me believe that any of this is real. And nothing happens. So he closes the door, and he locks up, and he goes. Now, when you leave the library, there's a long covered sidewalk that goes straight out. And it's got like those, it's got lights in it. But they're like orangey kind of lights. They're not like white lights, they're orange. I remember it so clearly. Anybody that's been there knows what I'm talking about. And then off to the right is the guy's dorm. And he doesn't go to the dorm because he's pissed and hates God and life and whatever. So he's going straight.
Typical atheist.
That's right. That's right. He's mad. I don't care. No one showed me nothing. And so he goes walking. And so he goes walking out straight. And now you're not allowed to do this. The rules are strict at this place. If you haven't heard about it, Google it and you'll see it. So he goes walking straight. And it's a long, straight, covered sidewalk. And he gets going a little ways. And he sees someone coming down the sidewalk towards him. And it's someone wearing like a hat and like a dark coat. And it's long. And he couldn't like make out because it's night and the light is shining from above, so he can't really see the guy's face clearly or anything. But he knows he's not supposed to be out. So if you turn and run, you're definitely busted. So you just got to act like you know what you're doing. So you just keep going straight. So he keeps walking at this guy, and he said that it was like all of a sudden when they got about like 15 feet apart, he said like everything went like in fast motion, and the guy just like zipped up on him real quick and just got close to his face and just says, "What do you want me to show you?" And grabs his face, and he said all he could see was just red. It was just like red and burning on his face, and he's screaming like, "Oh no, gosh, help me, God, help me!" And then he opened his eyes, and he was gone.
Oh.
And he just like ran back to the dorm where we were, and like just comes in, and he's just like bawling and crying.
Oh my God.
Well, I'm no longer an atheist. I'm gonna go to church tomorrow.
Tomorrow's Tuesday.
It feels like a Saturday to me.
Every day is a house of...
Go to a Catholic church.
Yeah.
They're open 24/7. Like
Someone will be
Stand up
there.
and sit down.
Go in the confessional booth.
They're like 7-Eleven. They may not be they're busy, but they're always open.
Settle in, Father. I got a lot of years to tell you about.
But that's a pretty effective way to do it. I mean, that's
What are you talking
crazy.
about?
What's
to have it
effective?
proven, if it is.
I mean, like I think 3 out of 4 of us in this room are non-believers. The guy who told the story, like, I don't think you believe in anything. So, like, what does that story mean to you, though?
I think the whole story is bullshit. I think it's all fake. I mean, I don't believe in any of it. And maybe it's true in the sense that, like, he thought he saw something. But I don't think any of that happened.
So maybe he just kind of saw something, spooked him out, and then, like, immediately just embellished it.
Yeah, maybe.
I mean,
Or maybe he was just making up a story. I have no idea.
you know what, though? Like, if you're, like, under super stress, though, like, and it sounds like the kid was under a lot of stress, especially going to a school that is known for how strict it is, and, you know, like, everything is focused on religion and everything else, where I think if I were going through something like that and I was just so stressed out, I could see myself, like, maybe seeing something out of the corner of my eye and immediately having it, like, embellished a million times, you know?
Or, I mean, technically, you could just also have a little bit of a psychotic break.
Yeah,
and
that's
that
right.
would actually
Your brain
actually
can do weird
happen.
I mean, because, like, I've had an actual psychotic break. I know, sorry, but you know,
You should be. It is your fault.
everybody
How dare you?
Everybody that listens to the show knows that I've struggled with depression my whole life and everything, and there's a certain medication, Paxil, that when I took it, it made me like a million times worse. I wasn't really aware of it at the beginning, and I wasn't really aware of it until I started hearing voices and everything else. So, like, psychotic breaks happen, and when they happen, you don't even really feel like it's happening. It's just like, what's going on? Like, I don't understand what's going on. But when you have, like, all these voices, like, around you yelling at you for being inadequate or whatever, it really fucks you up. Like, I tried to overdose on my pills the next day, and my friends stopped me, but whatever, that's beyond the point. I'm still alive, so
He's a good friend.
yeah. But anyway, psychotic breaks, yeah, I could definitely see that definitely being a key point, because, like, I mean, just voices was enough to scare, you know, me to the point of, like, it's time to die, you know? So,
See, and I think looking at all the stories, basically, it's, I think, at least a lot of younger stuff, and probably even older, because I don't think your imagination really goes away. I think it just gets buried down beneath the weight of real life.
Logic and reason just starts like hammering through. Like if I hear a voice on the wind, I think there was somebody saying something. I'm not thinking, oh, it's a ghost. But as a kid, I probably would have. Oh my gosh, what was it?
And I think that's what it is that, I mean, all these, because basically, I'm not saying I don't know. I don't really believe in ghosts. Like, people will be talking to work like, oh yeah, this happened, or this, I saw this on TV. It's like 99 and 44, 100% more than likely there's a rational logical
Yeah.
explanation. It
That's
just
right.
hasn't been.
That's right.
I mean, you're
Sought
talking to a guy whose primary means of entertainment anymore are spooky narrations on YouTube, spooky podcasts, and watching this dude named John Wolfe play scary games on YouTube. That's pretty much like my whole life. And then I read Stephen King and other horror stories. I love the whole horror fiction genre. And I've always had a really huge imagination. Like my parents told me I'd come up with like great immense stories when I was a kid, and it's still there deep within me. I know it is because like I've been working on this book for like ever, and I'm just slow as dick with it. But you know,
Pixar slow.
I just have this funny idea of AJ telling his parents how a window got broken. This great elaborate story.
actually, the elaborate
AJ, you have
story
such a great-
it was about like my friends and I all hanging out, and this kid pulled a knife on us, but then they knew I was like making it up because I was like, then suddenly.
Dun, dun, dun. He had music cued.
It was an ordinary day.
But no, like,
Went out of nowhere.
I mean, I'm pretty sure that a lot of the scary things that happen to me are easily explained away. Not to mention, I was in a near stressful environment from 2006 till probably 2010, maybe even 2011, just because it took me that long to deal with getting broken up with, and then 4 months later my mom passed away, and we scheduled that wedding at that time so then she would see it before she died and everything else. So I got hit with like two really, really heavy things, in such a short time span, and my depression, it has been as bad as that since then. But I mean, like, that was a hole that took me forever to dig out of. So, I mean,
And that kind of negativity, who knows how deeply it affects your mind other than
exactly.
Right,
Because
right.
when I talk about like scary nuggets that, I could have sprinkled it, it's just, there was a story. I was sitting there, I was playing Final Fantasy VII, and I'm sitting in my living room and I'm playing it on my PS1. I was doing my master playthrough where I got master everything. I killed all the weapons. Everybody was level 99. Everybody had their final limit breaks, including Aerith. I leveled her to 99 before she died on disc 1. So it was like my master game. I'm sitting there grinding Cactar Island, and I just like heard somebody whisper, "You're gonna die," into my ear. I was like, all right, I've had enough video games for the day. I think I'm going to watch TV. So I put on the TV, and it's just like I'm watching the news. I think it was like late night CNN or some shit. I don't know why the hell I was watching it. I think it was just so then somebody was talking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I could have sworn that the guy's face like melted away into a skeleton. And then like I kind of like rubbed my eyes, and then it was back to normal. Now, I don't know if that's what I really saw, or if that was just something that happened in my head. It scared the shit out of me.
CNN might have broadcast that. Who's to say?
They've done worse.
Fake news.
Just trying to get eyeballs any way they can.
And it's,
Bill, we're going to have to melt your face. What? For viewers, Bill.
don't
Close your
worry,
eyes, that's
it'll
the
come
matter.
back.
Wolf Blitzer wouldn't do it.
There are things that have happened to me that I just don't tell people about because I think it might be because of a depressive psychosis or something like that. Where just
Or maybe
like,
medication that you were on.
or a medication. Yeah, definitely medications will screw with you really bad, especially the ones that are supposed to like equalize your moods. I mean, I could understand if you were having this really shit terrible time. Yeah, you could have definitely saw that, but it didn't happen.
Right.
I'm perfectly fine with saying I don't know what it was. Like creepy things that happened. Like
Yeah.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
mean
could be this. could be
that's
that.
also like another facet of like atheism that you kind of have to come to grips with. Where it's like,
It's like, how do you explain this ghost I saw? I can't.
I can't.
Can't.
Sorry.
Other than I don't think you did.
I mean, but then
But I
there's
saw
like
it.
the things
No.
that I've seen or heard, and it's just like, how do I explain that away? Being an atheist, I don't have an answer for. That's why I'm always pushing that fourth dimensional bullshit. because we can't perceive them, except for like little slivers at a time.
Yeah.
I still think it's cool though. I want to go to like all the haunted houses, like stay the night at the Villisca Axe Murder House.
I would love to do that.
I want this shit. Like, come get me.
Yeah,
Like
Do
Zach
it.
Bagan. This is the portal to hell.
I mean, like,
Come up here and
yeah,
get me.
go to what
Bobby
is it?
Mackey's.
Bobby
That would
Mackey.
be-
Mackey's.
I would like to go there. Just
Oh, let's do
especially if they do like a midnight tour.
Ooh.
30 and Nerdy, featuring Bob Mackey.
I think is he still
Bob
alive?
He's dead. I think.
Wow.
I don't know.
Or is he?
The whole entire point that I was getting at is that you guys say you don't believe. I don't believe in ghosts or
Ghosts.
spirits, or I just don't. Not credible.
Yeah. I mean,
Why-
clearly, you do have a solid head on your shoulders because you're wearing a NASA shirt. You support, the sciences,
Or at least
even if-
T-shirts with the sciences on
I-
them.
or at least you paid for a little bit of NASA money by putting that shirt on.
You pay for an ounce of liquid oxygen to take into space.
So even if you do believe in God and everything else, spirits are really hard. One of those things where it's just do you believe in it or not?
It's not tangible. You can't.
Right.
It's like my mom, she believed in angels, and I was just like, it's all bullshit.
Well, it comes down to whether, just like with the atheism question, can you prove God exists or not exists? Not to the 100%.
No.
It's always taken on some form of tiny little sliver of faith of I believe in this because, and you just have to fill in some of the gaps with I don't know.
Yeah.
And that's the same
But-
thing with
And then
spirits.
they'll turn around and say, well, we'll prove that he doesn't exist.
Yeah.
It's like, well, why don't I prove to you that there aren't leprechauns on Mars?
Yeah.
I can't, but
And-
it's not 50-50.
It's even harder with ghosts because you're not going to be able to sit there and tell someone who they saw.
Yeah,
an
I just saw
apparition.
something out of the corner of my eye right now. I'm pretty sure it was just fucking dust in my
Yeah,
eye.
but they saw a fully formed
Whoa.
apparition. You're not going to say no, you didn't. It's like, well, I saw it.
I
It's
saw
like,
it.
Yeah.
Well, that's what
Well, I
because
can't
people at
explain it,
work were
sorry.
talking about it the other day, and they're like, "Oh yeah, this person on this or some TV show like Ghost Hunters or something like that."
Yeah.
It's like this stuff is real. I was like, "That's
You know what's
On
haunted?
LSD, you see a lot of things.
Yeah.
I think it's more once again going back to that kind of allowing that child spirit, quote unquote,
Your inner child.
your inner child to come out in your adulthood to where you allow your imagination to take over where logic and reason usually hold reign.
Yeah.
Well, and your brain's constantly trying to make sense of things. So
That's right.
even if it's jumping to that's a ghost, at least your brain's like, okay, I get that.
Well, it's like-
Because like
when
9
you
times out of
look at
10,
the popcorning in your ceiling and you see a face.
Yeah.
Because your brain's designed to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, our brains do all of this crazy shit, while we're just sitting here, looking at nothing and thinking about taking a big shit or something,
Yeah, you're watching
But-
iDubbbz on YouTube. Suddenly something happens. Your brain's like, what the guys?
And
what was that?
the littlest chemical imbalance can really mess up how your brain perceives things.
Oh, yeah.
Like my grandpa the other day, he was in the hospital because he had way too high blood sugar, and his blood sugar being off messed up his brain. He didn't know where he was. He didn't know who his son was. He didn't know.
diabetic pre-coma.
Right.
Yep.
It was crazy. He was talking and acting like a crazy person, and all that was just his blood sugar. It wasn't like he took a hit of something weird. It just blood sugar out of whack, and then brain out of whack.
I had a manager when I worked night stock at Hy-Vee in Windsor Heights. He told me a story about how he was driving home one day, and then there's just this blank spot, but he ended up being at home, and apparently people saw him. He was driving on the wrong side of the road and everything else, and his wife said that he was acting super crazy and shit, and then he kind of just snapped out of it. It was just it was a diabetic issue. There you go, blood sugar.
It's crazy.
That's what
get
we're all
yourself
seeing.
checked.
So they see things,
Yeah.
and they'll tell you that. Because they did
They
see
did
it.
actually see it.
So
But
the
it-
moral of tonight's episode is to go to your doctor and get an AC3 done
That's right.
to see if you're pre-diabetic. And if you are, take steps to prevent it. And if you're not,
These pills help keep me from seeing ghosts. The demons are gone.
thank you, Lord Jesus, for giving me this lower blood sugar. I no longer see
Praise
the
Lipitor.
fear in the corner of my eyes.
See, I think that's why I'm kind of drawn to scary movies and stuff like that. That then initially seem great and then always disappoint because I end up seeing the embodiment of whatever the person is trying to.
And it always ruins.
And that's why I think looking back on these memories that we have of scary places more than actual events, or we saw a ghost and it touched us and all this jazz. That
I've never been touched by a ghost.
Yeah, David, tell us about being touched.
The whole time I was like a teenager, I was like, why couldn't I have like a teenage female ghost that was super horny and
A succubus.
of course that would be where the teenage boys mind goes.
seriously, I would be like, God, I wish there was just like some big tittied ghost just wanted to fuck my dick. Instead, I got all these things that just want to spook me out all the time. Where's the pleasure ghost?
Why are ghosts always scaring us?
Yeah,
Why
what's
are they
the
always
point?
creeping around? Just be like, hey, I'm Steve. I'm dead.
You guys ever see the movie Ghost Town?
No.
It was a Ricky Gervais movie. Do you know Ricky Gervais?
I remember watching that because you watched
You
it
mean
at my
Ricky
house.
Gervais?
I remember because
That's how I say it.
I was laying down and then they dropped the F-bomb like the first
First scene of the
10
movie.
minutes, and I was like, well, I'm going to sleep because your uncle and aunt were there, my mom and dad were there, your mom and dad were there. I was like,
These are like the most conservative Christians you'll ever meet in your life. And it's like the opening scene of the movie, and like the guy is like walking and like he gets a phone call basically that his wife knows that he's buying a love nest. And he like answers the call from his wife and like covers with a lie, and then he calls his realtor. He's like, "Hey, are you a realtor or a professional fucking idiot?" And that's like the opening thing, and my whole family's like, and then you can just feel their butts like clench.
Yeah. Oh my.
So then I just went to sleep, so I wouldn't have to see what their reactions to any of the
Dave's
rest
not
of the
going to
movie
deal
were.
with the blowback. I'm out of here.
I love it. Like I always
Not my
love,
movie.
I always love hearing stories about like, yeah, they all decided to watch this movie, and I had to like kind of zone out to. So then I wasn't like, yeah, I picked this movie. I didn't. You.
It's like when you're a kid, you're watching movies with your parents, has
And
a
you
sex
see
scene in
boobs.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah, and it's like,
Like, how are we supposed to handle this as a family?
How
my
will we
family
do this?
wouldn't watch that movie. They wouldn't do it.
Straightforward. Don't look at each other. Wait till it's over.
So my family is like this crazy conservative family like that. I mean, like crazy, like David's family. That my David's family's. Well, they're not.
I've met his dad. He scares the shit out of me.
He's
is
an
very intimidating.
intimidating fellow, and they're
I'll
nice.
take
I'm not
a
saying they're
white
not
hand.
nice. I'm just saying they're very conservative. But my mother and stepfather and my aunt and uncle. So they went this summer to go. I don't know if you guys know, in Chicago, the Symphony Orchestra does like these concerts in the park.
That's cool.
And they do them once a year, where they'll play like a movie and they'll play the soundtrack with the movie as it's playing, which is pretty freaking awesome. It's like they're doing it in Des Moines this year with Harry Potter.
Oh, are they?
Yeah, at the Civic Center, the Sorcerer's Stone, the first one. It's in, I think, January. Anyway,
We have to go to that.
so they go to do this and they think, well, won't this be lovely? Mm-mm. And they go see Titanic. Which has got boobs in it. And this is something that would outrageously offend them, to see like nudity at all. And they went out thinking they're going to have this lovely time. I never had the balls to ask them, like, so what'd you think of the tit scene? I didn't ask about it, but I'm sure they were real.
Well, I mean,
Burnt.
and then there's that like fat guy who's all like, "Oh, holy shit!"
Yeah. Any swearing, any nudity would not be okay with their families.
That is so weird. I could never understand it. Like, it's just an alien thing to me. I guess since I grew up around.
Grew up with it.
Yeah.
Sure.
Like I found religion on my own. My parents are like, what the fuck are you doing? Later my mom became super religious. My dad still was like, no, this stuff's
No.
stupid. Like, when I asked him if I could get baptized, he's like, no fucking way.
I love that. That's your dad's reaction. No fucking way. And you can tell your priest I said that.
He was
Father
like,
Williams, my dad said, he said, no fucking way! And then I had to tell you.
oh, shit. This is so funny. Oh.
Well,
Yeah, dude, this is a
Spookcast.
long ass episode. This is almost 2 hours recorded, so it'll be about an hour and a half for your beautiful ears.
Ear and flaps.
Thank you guys so much for inviting me.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
thanks for
awesome.
being here.
It's been a pleasure.
You were very, very calm for being recorded for the first time.
Well, technically, he's done theater and stuff like that for his whole life.
Oh, really?
That's true.
Well, Jesus Christ, you just made me look like a fucking idiot, Dave. I was like, oh man, this guy is like really just go with the flow when doing these podcasts.
Well, I'm a teacher,
Our
so I have
Gotta
to talk
teach
to
you,
people
kid.
all day. My whole day is just talking to people that don't want to listen to me.
Yeah.
So then this podcast is going to be very familiar.
My
Right
life
up
is
your alley.
podcast by force.
Yeah.
Now sit down. You're going to listen to this.
You ever thought about radio?
We're going to put you on AM. Nobody's going to hear. Start talking, bitch. So anyway, well, thank you so much for being on the show, Derek.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. I thought you were great.
Excellent.
Yeah, give this man a round of applause.
Hey.
Fuck you, Dave. Fuck you right in the ear.
Dave just took a knee. Dave's not.
Well, that's like cause,
Dave Kirkpatrick over there.
well, because this reminds me of like things in church. Whenever people like start clapping with the music or stuff like that. Of course, we came from very conservative, so
We
that
don't
was-
clap.
So we don't clap. But
That was
it
the
just
devil.
was. I'm that kind of person where like let's just clap or let's do this or give this person a hand. It's like no,
No.
I'm not gonna do it because you told me to.
No, you give the amen.
Amen.
Like when everybody during chapel's like,
Did I ever
really?
tell you about
Get
the
it? You're into it. Just
Did I ever tell you about the time I went to a black church when I was in South Carolina?
No.
Okay. This is
Today,
maybe offensive.
Lots of
rest of
spooky
the
stories. One kind of funny one.
So, I was down at Bob Jones in South Carolina. I knew I was leaving because the place was a hellhole and I had to get out of there. But
Literally.
like when I was, that's
I
right.
always have the feeling that if we had gone together, we probably would have been kicked
We would
out.
have had a, oh yeah, we would have gotten kicked out. We would have had a ball. So I go there and I'm thinking like I gotta go to a black church while I can. So I go to this like true like Southern Baptist like black church
where they wear
and-
their Sunday best.
That's right.
and
That's right.
their big hats.
And it's
Like Medea.
I am literally the only white person there, the only one, and I'm sitting towards the back. And I don't remember much about what he was talking about. I remember him preaching about animals, and he kept doing like voices of like the animals. He'd be like, and then the duck, quack quack like a duck, and I'm like, and chickens, cluck, 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 like a chicken. I just remember him doing all these animal things. and everybody all through the service. This is a small congregation, like maybe 100, and like everybody's like responding verbally to everything he's saying, like, yeah. And that, they're just like verbally shouting out in the middle of the service. So we're getting going, and I'm thinking like about halfway through, I'm like, okay, I'm like feeling the groove. I'm getting the rhythm of like how they're doing it, and I'm gonna participate. I'm gonna like, I'm here.
no.
I'm gonna do it. And so like he says something. It doesn't even matter. I was just waiting for what I felt like was the right time.
Oh, no.
And I just go,
oh no!
and it was like, boom! No! Every eye turns, every head turns and looks at me. I just like shrunk down in my pew, like, oh! And they all just kind of waited for a second and then turned back around and just kept going like nothing happened. That's a real thing that happened to me.
That's amazing.
I can't believe I never told you that.
I never heard that.
That is amazing.
It was like my last Sunday at Bob Jones.
That's incredible.
I probably would have peed myself and died.
So if you're white and you go in a black church, just keep your mouth shut.
Yep.
The
No,
moral of
you're
the
wrong.
story.
Don't say it. It's been awesome having you. I've enjoyed everybody's scary stories. And when I got up to go piss earlier, I had to force myself not to turn on the light in the hallway. So you were effective.
Brilliant. Brilliant.
All right. Well, this has been 30 and Nerdy.
Live and uncut, just like Brady. I don't know if you're circumcised or
I
not.
am. I was born to Baptists. Of course I am. What do you think I am, a Gentile?
I'm kidding. Anyway, so I've been AJ.
I've been Brady.
Special guest.
I've been Derek.
Goodbye.
Bye.